Key and Bexy for Rebel News, standing in Toronto outside of the headquarters of a business you've probably heard of, Dominion Voting Systems. Donald Trump has been tweeting about this company pretty much nonstop over the past few days after allegations of voter fraud arose, specifically coming out of Michigan. About 3,000 ballots were switched from Donald Trump to Joe Biden, leading to a 6,000 vote swing in one Michigan county. Now, Dominion Voting Systems has their hands over elections in tons of counties in the United States. They manage the elections in all of Georgia's 140-something counties, and they run elections also in Canada with the Conservative Party of Canada and also in New Brunswick. And it seems like, it's hard to keep track of actually, how many times allegations of voter fraud follow whenever they get involved in an election. It's a huge problem, but today we're here for a different reason. We've learned that they share not just an office building, but they share an office floor with Tides Canada. Now, Tides Canada is interested in meddling in politics within Canada and the United States. They will do whatever they can to stop any sort of resource development, even if it means getting involved in politics. It's a huge problem here in Canada and clearly in the United States. We're really interested to know why they just happen to have very expensive office space here in Chinatown in Toronto, shared with Dominion Voting Systems, the company that just happens to have an ungodly amount of control over the American presidential elections. We're going to go in there and ask a few questions and see why they're trying to hide the fact that they actually share an office floor, because we've poked our head in and we've seen that they've actually removed the placards that show exactly where their office is headquartered.
Removed at the request of the tenant. So
that was removed at the request of the
why
tenants.
Now,
I wonder why they would do that. It seems almost like an admission that something a little bit distasteful is going on, but we don't know. We're going to go ask. We're going to see if we can get an interview and speak with folks at Dominion Voting as they go into work this morning. Let's see what we can find. Hi there. Would you be able to tell us why Dominion Voting gave so much money to Hillary Clinton? Would you be able to explain that to me? She did have a Dominion Voting tag there. Very luckily, we were invited in by a friendly individual who works in this building, not for Tides and not for Dominion Voting, but he wanted us to be in where it's warm, while we asked folks coming into work on this early Toronto morning what Dominion Voting was doing when they donated almost $50,000 to Hillary Clinton. And I didn't make that up. The document is right here. It's almost too crazy to believe that an organization that we trust to be impartial, that controls the integrity of the ballots in dozens of jurisdictions, from New Brunswick to New York, Dominion Voting has their hands on ballots across the world. And we are supposed to trust them that they're handling those with integrity. Why did they decide that Hillary Clinton was deserving of so much cash? So you can see that there is indeed a Unit 360. You can see it right here. But for some reason on their front display, they've removed Unit 360 and 370. So that's Tides and Dominion Voting.
Unless somebody's here that's with you from Dominion Voting, you can't be in.
Could you tell us one thing though? We know that Dominion Voting is Unit 360, and right next to them at 370 is Tides. And on this board, it's been removed, and we're wondering why that was removed. What
that
sort
was
of
removed at the request of the tenant. So
that was removed at the request of the tenants.
Why
Why are they afraid to know that they're sharing office?
Please leave.
Why do you think they're afraid to know?
Leave.
Yeah, certainly we will. We're just wondering why
Just keep going.
we're just wondering why they don't want people to know that they're sharing office space. We're curious to know, and like millions of people are interested to know why they're hiding that they're sharing office space.
I'm just a tenant. I'm just a building manager, right?
Certainly.
You're not supposed to be in here recording. Secondly, you're not wearing your mask, so.
Wasn't wearing my mask, so we're getting kicked out here. Police is here. That was fast. That was really fast. Now, as I mentioned before, Tides Canada is directly funded by George Soros, and this is very clear evidence that George Soros' company and Dominion Voting have worked together to cover up the fact that they work in such close proximity, not just in the same office building, but on the very same office floor. Now, what I need an answer to now, and what millions of Americans need an answer to, is how much access these extreme radicals at Tides Canada, funded by George Soros, how much access they have to the documents and information held within Dominion Voting Systems offices here in Toronto, Canada. Where are their servers located? Where is the extremely sensitive data that was being collected while ballots were being tabulated during the American general election? Where was all that stored? Could it be compromised by people working in offices on the very same floor of the very same building here in Toronto? We don't know, because Dominion Voting Systems is being very secretive about this. And if history is anything to judge them by, they aren't trustworthy. Hey there, how are you?
Okay.
Would you be able to answer a quick question?
Definitely no, I'm doing rounds.
Did Dominion Voting hire you?
I'm not liberty to discuss that.
Why do you think they hired a police officer to come sort of scout around their building?
I'm not going to say anything, sir.
Was it Dominion Voting or was it Tides that hired you?
I'm not going to answer you, sir. That's a customer's priority.
It's a customer, so you're not here on duty. You're here because someone hired you.
I'm not going to answer you, sir.
Well, you just said customer. Who's the customer?
I don't have to answer any questions.
Maybe this is something that, like, I'm from Calgary, so we don't usually rent out our police officers. I'm wondering why. Well, maybe we do. I don't know. This is something new to me. I'm curious to know why, like, a business has hired a police officer.
Well, you can contact our corporate affairs department. They can give you the rundown on that.
So we've been here pretty much all day, and we got one interaction with someone who actually works for Dominion Voting, and they sort of scurried inside, and I'm not sure how they got away from us when they came out, because the sun is starting to set here now, and we still haven't gotten any answers. They seem very scared. They don't want to open up to the media to explain what's going on with whether it's, voter fraud or why they share an office with an eco-radical organization. I found it interesting, though, that when we were actually in there waiting where it was a little bit warm, the person said that this is an office building catered towards businesses that support sustainability. That's what she said. You can hear it right here. This green wall is kind of interesting. Are those real plants?
Yeah, this is the famous green wall.
Huh.
So it attracts a lot of people to the building.
Oh, yeah?
Most of these companies are all about sustainability. So
Most of the...
this matches...
Sorry, didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Most of these companies are about sustainability.
Gotcha.
So it matches that sort of theme of being sustainable.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It is absolutely real.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not what I expect from a business that is controlling and has a lot of behind-the-scenes power in the United States presidential election. That's not what I expect for an organization that controls Canadian elections. Tides Canada, who shares an office floor, now we know for sure, with Dominion Voting Canada, has tried to influence Canadian elections many, many times. In fact, they give George Soros' money to even smaller organizations, so it's harder to trace it. There's been a ton of research done on this, and just somehow, this extreme organization happens to share an office floor with the organization who really had control over who becomes the next president of the United States and has control over many other elections that you might not even be aware of. This company, which has an ungodly amount of power, some might even say they might control who sits in the White House at the Resolute desk. Well, their slogan is accurate, reliable, and transparent. Today, we've proven they're anything but those three things. They're not accurate, they're not reliable, and they're opaque as hell. Shady at best. For Rebel News, outside of Dominion Voting Systems headquarters in Toronto, Canada, I'm Cian Bexty.